Council regular meeting, July 23rd, 2002. Can we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow our heads. Lord, guide us through our agenda for this evening and help us make the right decisions. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
At the airport.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Parker?
Present.
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 Martinez?
Present.
Present. Any communications from staff? Ernie, nothing? Items from the public, non-agenda items. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in the meetings, it would be appreciated if you would limit your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard. Matters under the jurisdiction of the Council and not on the posted agenda may be addressed by the general public at this time. However, California law prohibits Council from taking action on any matter which is not on the posted agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the City Council. Any non-agenda items? Agenda items. Any member of the audience desiring to address the Council on a matter of agenda, please raise your hand or step to the podium at the time the item is announced by the Mayor. In order that all interested parties may have an opportunity to speak, any person addressing the Council will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes unless the Mayor grants a longer period of time. And when you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. Item number 7, public hearings. 7A, CDBG programs. Review and approve annual grantee performance report, CDBG 00 STBG 1517 and CDBG 00 EDBG 752. Review and approve the annual income report and annual grantee performance report of the revolving loan funds. Review and approve amendment to housing rehabilitation guidelines, and review 2002-2003 CDBG funding opportunities. Margaret?
Come on down.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the Council. This is an good evening. You had a good day? That's
All
good.
of them are good.
All of them are good. The item before you is an annual process that we go through as being recipients of HUD's CDBG funding, both for rehabilitation of many of our homes and also for an economic development grant. Tonight we'll be reviewing the annual grantee performance report for the current housing program and for the economic development grant. We'll be reviewing program income, expenditures, and revenue. We'll be going over program changes for our housing rehabilitation project and also the future funding that will be available throughout the course of the year. The Community Development Blank Program is provided by HUD, federal funds, and it's administered through the state of California through HCD. The program is designed to meet a national target, which is to help low-income households by providing and repairing their homes and to eliminate slums and blights. So basically our involvement in the housing rehabilitation program is what this is for. Going over our grantee performance reports, our current grant program is STBG 1517. It's a $500,000 grant that we awarded a year ago. To date, of that $500,000, we have spent $215,000. $21,000 of that is for general administration, and $194,000 is for the actual rehabilitation and activity delivery of the program. We have 4 units completed, we have 4 loans approved, and we have an interest list of about 14 parties. It does take a while for this process to complete. Also, the city has to provide leverage and in-kind service in order to qualify for these loans, and to date the city has spent out of mostly redevelopment money and staff support $60,000. A brief review of the program income. This is when the loans are repaid and loans are paid off. Our current balance at the beginning of the year was $60,000, and we received revenue of $65,000. This is quite high for the few number of loans that we do have being repaid, and that is because some homes changed title and actually the entire loan was paid off. Not very many of our loans have monthly payments on them. They are deferred until the title changes. If we were to have earned less than $25,000, that money could be diverted from what we call program income miscellaneous revenue, which could be used ever how council sees fit. Since this year we're well over that $25,000 mark, it will stay in the program income fund. It is now $126,000, and it will be used to be applied to other or open housing grants to meet the same type of purpose as was served when the original loan was made. There are some times that folks can't qualify for enough loan money to do whatever improvements are necessary. By using this money either as a grant or as an addition to the loan, it gives them a little more opportunity. It gives the city and the self-help administrators more flexibility in applying the program. And okay, that's basically it on program income. We also have our guidelines. We have participant guidelines that states how much money can be spent and so forth. And it has been determined that in this day and age, with the price of construction as it is, the $60,000 limit that is applied to housing reconstruction is somewhat low, and that it should be raised to $70,000. A point of interest, even though we've done over 50 homes since we've participated in this program, only 1 or 2 actually went through reconstruction. Most of them do go through rehabilitation. Reconstruction is far more costly, it's more invasive in the neighborhood, more difficult on the occupants. But when the need arises, we do it, and we do need to raise the limit so we could do the job right. So we're asking that council does approve this change of going from $60,000 of CDBG funds to $70,000 to assist in the reconstruction portion of the program. Okay, possible funding for future years. The program is basically the same. We could apply for $500,000 per application for future housing rehabilitation or similar programs. We could make more than 1 application, but the maximum allowed to the city is $800,000. We can also apply for a planning and technical assistance grant. That is what assists funding studies to determine if we really should apply for the big grant in the first place. The planning and technical assistance grants are $35,000, and we're allowed to apply for 2 of those during the course of the year. These grants are not competitive. The other CDBG grants are competitive. It's based on our past performance. It's based on how many other entities are applying and how much money is available. And so that's what we can do. And by bringing this up tonight, it's a public meeting and it's been publicly noticed. So our citizens are aware that the city can apply for 2003 for future grants. We just were awarded our 6th grant for $500,000. The contract has not been executed, and the funds, of course, are not available till that time, but we still have half of our funding left in the current grant. So we're in no hurry right now for the new one, but we do have at least 14 interested parties, and that's about how many we can do nowadays with a $500,000 grant. We have the second grant is our economics development grant. And we're reviewing this. It's been tossed around and reviewed periodically. This point in time, after discussing with HCD and with Cleve, staff is going to recommend and ask that perhaps we consider releasing the funding for EDGB 752. This is a $300,000 grant for the purpose of economic development. The application was written that its primary purpose is to create 30 brand new jobs, not just switching from one site to another, but to create 30 new jobs, 16 of which have to be low income, and these have to be verified for a number of years down the road. The last point in time that we could release these funds and not accept them would be next month. If we fail to do that, and if we're unable to meet our deadline, which is September 2003, we will be penalized in future grants for not meeting our performance measures. The problem has been timing. our application had listed Sketco as a partner. They were to market the program and get us applicants. They were to provide loan processing services. This didn't happen. We had meetings with them starting in May of 2001. Never really got that off the road. The last meeting I had with them was in February 2002. At that point in time, I thought that we're going to get this process completed. Then we discovered that they weren't interested in working on this particular grant because all the participants in this meeting that I had attended had difficulty with it, especially with the job verification. Many employers and the employees found this process very intrusive and invading their privacy. You go into this factory, to this business, and the people have to prove what their income is in order to keep the funding in place. They felt that the conditions were very difficult to implement, so their feeling was that we should create a countywide economic bank instead of using our match for this program, and local investors would assist. At that point in time, I wasn't interested in the economic bank. I was interested in getting this thing off the road, but we're still running into problems. Like I said, verification of the jobs is difficult. You have to put that provision in the lease of the parties who are benefiting from the grant. Their employees might have problems with this annual audit. And that's one problem. Second problem is before any work can be done, before any construction can occur, we have to have an environmental report which not just extends to the city. If we're using these fundings for city infrastructure, it has to also apply to those who'd be benefiting from it. It has to be a NEPA, not just a SEPA, of which could take up to 6 months. We are looking at September of 2003, lopping off another 6 months before we could even break ground. Any work that is done and benefiting from just the slightest share of this funding is subject to Davis-Bacon. If a business person benefits just a little, this might create the cost of his project to go well beyond the return of the grant. And we still aren't really that sure in the time factor of the industrial park. We don't have leases in place which state that these folks will create X number of jobs. These jobs are verifiable so that we can meet that September 30th deadline with 30 new jobs. This has not been the first time that the city has been faced with returning funds. Back in '95, we returned housing construction funds when we were having difficulty finding a site for the self-help program, which eventually landed at Silva Park. The project worked out very well, but we had applied for this funding, and unfortunately, the very last house that benefited from that funding had to be built by the expiration date of the grant, and it was not. Not only did we lose all the money, we also got penalized for not meeting our performance measures. HUD is well aware of the fact that sometimes things change, and sometimes you take a risk and a chance in applying for these grants, and you can't always make it happen according to their time schedules. That's why they do give us an out by letting us return the funds early enough so that other agencies could benefit by it. That date is August 2002. So would like permission to explore what it takes in order to release the city from this grant funds, and we could pursue other avenues of funding for this sort of project. I think I'm done.
The first half of your report, excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
No, go ahead. I was just going to ask.
The first half of your report was extremely excellent. The 50 homes that we've already have been refurbished in that loan system. The latter half of your report, particularly with this business assistant grant, you're talking about us giving back a sum of $300,000.
Yes.
I'm sure they'd be glad to get their money back. My question, I guess, would be, what kind of effort? I know I understand that you said that the county was looking at things through the other agency to help with recruitment. What have we done as staff to try to commit these funds?
Well, what I was particularly hoping in, and what the application had stated, is that we were going to focus on bringing businesses into the industrial park.
Okay.
The question is are those buildings, and what I'm concerned about, is whatever is going to be there be completed by September 30th of 2003? Will those businesses have 30 brand new, not relocated, not shift from any place else in town, 30 brand new jobs in the city limits of Newman? And finally, will these businesses allow us to go into their establishment on an annual basis and count the bodies that are working there and ask if half of those people are low income?
Well, let me ask for clarification. The 30 bodies of personnel that you're speaking of, does it have to encompass one business, or can it be several
No, it
businesses?
could be 30 new jobs in the city limits of Newman.
And the reason why I asked, we're pushing to get the industrial park map, tentative map through with Merced County. I mean, that's been a focal point of this council for at least the last month and a half. And now I'm hearing, well, we should give this money back because by 2003, September of 2003, a little over a year away, we're kind of giving up some kind of hope that that's going to be done and we may be able to issue out these funds to help a business. And it sounds pessimistic to me. I'm a little more optimistic than that.
If anyone starts breaking ground, if anyone starts putting a board down on their business
Yes.
before the NEPA is done, it will not count.
So when you say before the NEPA is done, is this
Yes.
this date, September 30th?
No, before we do the environmental report, which we have to do, we have to pay for, we have to cause it to happen. It takes from 4 to 6 months.
So the building would start in 4 to 6 months?
That's
and it has
correct.
to be
It
completed
cannot
by
start
September
prior.
2003,
That's correct.
and which puts you into the winter and bad weather.
Right. And also, we might have the greatest business out there, but it doesn't mean they're going to employ 30 people. It might be a great business to raise our property tax value and raise sales tax and other benefits to the community. How, at this point, when I'm at my drop dead date, I can't be sure that I'm going to get enough employers gathered that will create 30 new jobs who are willing to comply to the conditions of the grant. We have not received the money. All I'm asking, it's not like I have to dig in our pockets and that we've spent any of it.
Okay.
The only money we have spent is staff's time and some other application fees and so forth. It's in the whole scheme of things, it's an insignificant
When we will actually receive that we were granted?
as we do the work.
But the actual grant, when did we receive reception?
When did we get it?
Yes.
February 19th, 2001.
Okay.
We wrote up the program and started meeting with SCETCO May of 2001. My last meeting with them, when they didn't want to talk about this kind of program anymore, was February 2002.
Okay, I don't have any further questions.
Tom, you have any questions? Bob?
No
Josh?
question. No.
I kind of agree with Margaret that, had we had this industrial area ready to go several months ago or 6 months ago, and we had the infrastructure started, that might be reasonable to expect that we had businesses in there to get 30 people
Yeah.
by 2003, but I don't see how we can possibly do that at the present time. So
The best way of doing this would have been if we had one huge type of factory or canning plant or something of that sort that you could have taken care of the obligation, that hired a lot of people, many of which are lower income, that you could have got it all with one clean swoop. But that doesn't appear to be what our industrial park is going to be like.
Yeah, I would agree that we're not going to meet those goals. There is no way that we can in that time frame. I would
Margaret.
concur with you, Margaret.
Margaret, do you think part of the problem is the problem that SCETCO had also? mean,
I think
with
so,
their
because
leadership and everything, or?
Exactly. We were relying on their expertise in terms of marketing and developing the program. I'm not an economic development person. So what it takes to make these contacts and to attract, they're going out to fairs and they're supposed to be luring in potential businesses. And that was their role, and it was hard, fast written in that application. We would have had to do a special amendment, which wouldn't have been a problem had we realized how the things would have turned out. We have the company lined up to do the job verification. The work task force in Modesto was ready to come out and verify jobs, but nobody's gotten the jobs in there yet to verify.
Any other
Not good.
questions?
Not good.
No,
Same old story. What have you done for me lately? Not a whole lot of.
that's right.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that we should have had done a long time ago and didn't. Also, I agree Skedco was a little lax on what they've been supposed to do and what they've actually
Yeah.
done, so. Any other questions for Margaret? We have some direction on this.
This is a public hearing.
Oh, sorry. Open a public hearing. Mr. Tatro.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. Personally, I want to thank Margaret for everything she's done, including staff. Some of you may or may not be aware that I'm involved with a major employer that's going to be moving to the Hanford area. The grant is great until you get business to buy into it. You're wasting your time. One of the problems you have, and the company I'm dealing with is going to be dealing with ultimately about 350 jobs. The tax credits and the economic incentives from the state of California are substantial, well in excess of $3 to $5 million. Without the level of intrusion, if you will, to both the employer as well as the employee, where the federal grants are asking for information that, quite frankly, is, as any of you, would you want somebody coming in verifying your income, and et cetera? Most people don't, regardless of what your income status is. The other intrusion to it, particularly in Newman, is when you put the Davis-Bacon requirements on it. It's going to increase your construction costs by probably the minimum of 33 to 35%. The wages that they use for Davis-Bacon are based on the San Francisco Bay Area Index, which are considerably, sometimes almost 40 to 60% higher than what the wages are currently in the Central Valley. That being said, I mean, I think you need to go look at the business community and look at, there are some other grants and things available. Unfortunately, in the current condition the state of California is in with its budget, a lot of its rural economic programs are on hold. There's still money out there for that. Now, I can provide you with the name of a large company that could assist the city in looking at those development grants once you've got some businesses in place. That would be Ernst & Young out of the Los Angeles area. But that being said, I think what Margaret has done is amazing. Skedco, as far as I'm concerned, some of you know what I think of Skedco, and unfortunately I know the mayor sits on that board. Clients that I have that are currently looking at Patterson and their industrial park do not want to deal with Skedco in any form, manner, shape, or condition. And I don't care to tell you why now in a public hearing, but if anybody's interested, you can come and talk to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tatro. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. And now we have some direction for item number 7A.
Do we have to have two
Okay.
separate ones, or?
I think we can put them all together here. So I'll read this. We were going to review and approve annual grantee performance report CDBG 00 STBG-1517 and CDBG 00 EDBG-752. We also reviewed and approved the annual income report and annual grantee performance report of the revolving loan funds, and reviewed and approved the amendment to housing rehabilitation guidelines, and reviewed 2002-2003 CDBG funding opportunities.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay. Also, under public hearings, we have a, we're going to conduct a public hearing, introduce ordinance amending Newman Municipal Zoning Code by adding right to farm regulations.
I'll
Steve,
handle
did
that
you want
item,
to cover
yeah.
that?
Yeah, I told Mr. Borchard it wasn't necessary for him to come down for this tonight. Hopefully I can answer all your questions regarding this. This is something in our last general plan update. This was one of the goals that was set to have a right to farm ordinance adopted. We are just getting to this, and this is being done. Basically what this says in short is that as we expand to the outer limits of our city, the farmland that is located within our general plan area and around the city is there and is allowed to continue farming, and any nuisance complaints, basically, which we may get regarding farming operations that are going on, basically are unfounded because of this ordinance which we state that allows them to continue normal farming operations that are already there. It's a pretty standard ordinance that is used throughout valley communities and any farming areas. Most of them you'll see that will have this type of ordinance. The one point that Bob asked me to make that this doesn't allow is the fact of something like the Tataric plant that came in. Would be considered an agricultural or a farming operation because of it does use farming produce or the leaves from the grapes to come in and as part of its production process. The difference is that, as you know, it was required to have a conditional use permit, and it has to be operating legally or within the requirements of that conditional use permit in order to take advantage of this ordinance. They were not doing that because their odors were not meeting the requirements of their conditional use permit, and therefore this ordinance would not to apply to something like that. But the normal operations, farm operations you get, as you know, we get odors from other farming operations in our community. Those are normal odors that would be received, and basically what this says is we have to accept those. Those are part of our community, and we will accept those. Pesticide spraying and all of those things that have to go on in those areas will continue, and we will allow that to go on. That's in short what this ordinance requires and what it does. It was recommended, the correct findings were made, and CEQA compliance was made by the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission recommended that the council adopt this ordinance. So what's before you tonight is to have the first reading and introduce the ordinance.
So we just have a more of a discussion on this. We don't have to actually.
You will introduce it tonight.
Introduce it,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay, anyone have any comments on the right to farm regulations and ordinance? Okay. We will close the public hearing on this, and we have some direction on.
I move we introduce ordinance number 2002 next to number, an ordinance amending Newman Municipal Zoning Code by adding right to farm regulations.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Next up is our consent calendar. Item 8A, approval of warrants. 8B, approval of minutes of July 9th, 2002 regular meeting. 8C, adopt resolution number 2002, next number, a resolution authorizing support of the application for funds for the location of bus facilities throughout the county to improve intercity, inter-county transit. Anyone have any items on that they want to pull?
Mayor, I'd like to pull item number C.
Okay. Can we have some direction on items A and B?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item 8C. Cleve, do you want to elaborate a little bit on that? Or do you want me
I'll
to?
let Ernie handle that. He's been working with the county on
Okay.
that project, and then he can answer any questions that you may have on it.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. This is just basically support to the county for an application for an FTA grant for bus shelters, benches, and bus stops throughout the county. If you'll give me just a moment, I might be able to find the report on this.
Do we have a map showing where these shelters are going to be?
Yes, we do. The planning director, Bob Borchard, submitted a map of the proposed locations where there's a copy of the proposed routes for northbound and southbound for the start.
Are these the areas that we wanted, or the ones that they want?
No, these are the ones that we have submitted to them for approval. However, Dora Lee Bowles, which is the transit planner, stated that at this time they weren't looking at redoing the start routes. At the present time, all they were looking for was to get the application in so that they could get the funding, and then at a later date, they would come back and take a look at the routes and see if they could accommodate us with our requests. What they did is they applied for 7 bus shelter benches, seven spots like as proposed in our map, so that at that time, if they do change it over to accommodate us with our request, we would have the equipment on hand.
Ernie, I have a real concern as far as some of their locations, and I really feel that this is the opportunity for us to change those locations. And I just, I don't want to see some of those bus stops that are presently in Newman. I don't want to see them in the location they are. And I want to do whatever is necessary to get them moved.
At the present time, all we're trying to do, because they were under a deadline, they needed to submit the application at that time so that they could acquire all the equipment. However, it will not be installed until it's approved by the council and at the locations as you desire.
So all we're doing right here, right now, is saying that we go along with what the county wants to do.
That's all we're doing, is
Okay.
we're just giving them support in their application so that they can,
As long as they understand that.
yes, they
Yeah.
do. They will not come in and do any installation of bus shelters or benches unless they're approved by us.
Okay, good.
Yeah, if I can add, Councilmember Martinez, they have a process where actually they only review routes and stops once a year. And that's, I think there may be some state law in there that requires that also. They have to go through public hearings and everything once a year to look at all of that information. We attempted, when we submitted this, said, you know, bus shelters may be a good idea, but we need to take a good hard look at our stops and those locations. And they basically sent it back and said, okay, but this isn't the time of the year that we do this. We can't do it right now.
Well, like where we have one area that is set, but they pick them up at a different location, which is more convenient. You told me about that one.
See, at the present time, they have 4 locations. They have one at Yolo and Highway 33, and I've never seen anybody pick up the bus there. Then they have one at Yolo and R Street. Then they have it at Kern and R, and then here by City Hall. And then there's one at Highway 33 in Merced. With Bob's proposal is that they change the route so that they'll go over to the east side of the city and come in through Kern and add additional bus stops.
I just want to mention, I know the mayor asked me to look into, and you will be receiving a presentation, I believe, on the second meeting in August from Brad Christian of County Transit on the possibility of adding a full-time dial-a-ride service in the city of Newman. They've looked at that. Currently, there's a dial-a-ride service that is basically for the west side, excluding Patterson, because Patterson has their own. Basically, we would get our own service for dial-a-ride. The other thing that we're talking about, and I'm not going to go into all the details right now, but that will free up possibly the current small bus that does that dial-a-ride to be able to perhaps do more of a local service and go around this expanded route that Ernie and Bob Borchard have recommended. So besides getting the dollar ride service in, it may expand some other opportunities as far as our fixed route service that will probably be able to provide service between Gustine and Patterson, at which point in Patterson would be able to transfer to the regular service that would take them over to Turlock or Modesto or wherever they might be going. So we're looking at that, and there will be a presentation on that for you at your I believe it's the second meeting in August. I don't have that calendar here before me.
Well, I move that we approve item 8C of the consent calendar.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Excuse me, Cleve, could we get a copy of that route? Would that be possible?
Sure. Judy, you want to take that and make sure that...
Yeah, it looked like it wasn't very clear. For instance, the library stop looked like north and southbound were on the same side of the street.
We'll get that taken care of and try and do it.
Okay. Item number 9, regular business. There are no objections. I'd like to move number 9F up to 9A. I think Michelle has to get out of here, and are we doing the Miss Newman thing tonight again? Okay.
Oh.
So, are there any objections to that?
I concur.
It's fine.
Okay. Item 9F, appoint Michelle Santos to fill the vacancy on the Parks and Recreation Commission. You've all read the, we are short one person on the Recreation Commission, have been for quite a while. And Michelle, I don't know if she really knows what she's getting into, but we appreciate someone coming forward. We need more volunteers for everything here.
Would you just like to introduce yourself, Michelle?
Yeah, Michelle, could you come up to the...
It's nice that you've come down tonight. We've had applicants before. We're just looking for volunteers to fill these commissions. They're not always here to be able to address us, but it's nice when they do come in person.
Thank you.
So we-
Thank
You have
for
30
having
minutes
me.
to give us your philosophy on life.
Well, my Miss Newman is about over, so I need to check in with the girls. Anyways, my name's Michelle Sanis, and I live on 1146 Current Street. I currently coach this year my first T-ball team. I don't know if you saw in the newspaper, but we got our end-of-the-year trip to the Oakland A's. They got to meet the big time, so they had a good time with that. That's when my first interest actually in the baseball kind of started. It's my second year of Miss Newman, and every year I just find another thing to volunteer for. And this is my third. I just really like being involved. Someday I'll be sitting up there with you gentlemen, and maybe in the mayor's seat someday. And the more involved I get early on, the more I'll
Very
know.
ambitious, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll probably never be married, and my son will kick me out. But anyways, I just enjoy being involved in the community, and just thought this would be a great opportunity.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
for
Michelle.
volunteering.
Okay,
I move we appoint Michelle Sanis to fill a vacancy on the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 5-0. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
And now you can go
Congratulations.
take care of Miss Newman. Thank you. All right, next item is adopt resolution number 2002, next number, approving agreement between City of Newman and Precision Inspection Company for building inspection and plan checking services. Let's see. This basically is the contract with the changes that had been requested last time, I believe. I have one question on page 1, item 1.1.
Yes.
Right at the bottom, it says, "in a timely and thorough manner" has been crossed out.
The only reason is because earlier in the sentence, it already says that. That's just a grammatical thing.
Okay, I
If you
see.
look up
I'm
about 3
sorry, I
lines,
see.
it already says
Okay.
that, so
I
that's
see.
all
Okay.
that is.
Right.
And there's several other items that are kind of that way, some of them are just grammatical that I just tried to clean up a little bit as I went through. I can walk through those if you'd like me to, or if you're happy with what you've seen there. Some of them, I will admit, were corrections in the actual process that we're doing currently, that I tried to make the language more clear and show what we're actually doing.
Okay. So basically, we're extending this contract for another year, but it will be brought back after a period of 6 or 9 months to review what progress has been made, if we're still having problems or not having problems. And we can terminate that at any time. So can we have some direction on this?
Well, I'm not,
Okay.
gonna ask for
Go, I'm
discussion?
sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry. Discussion.
yeah,
Tom?
page 6, item 16. Basically, myself, and this is how I believe, that we hired a city manager to do a job. This is an administrative thing here, and I think it should be done by the city manager, not by the city council. We're here to give guidance and not to run the city itself, as per se, and that's why we have a city manager. And I think that the city manager is hereby authorized to renew this agreement on a year-to-year basis should be left in there. That's my opinion.
I would concur with that. I believe that what Mr. Applegate has stated is true, and I think the city manager should be the one to approve these types of contracts.
I beg to differ. And one of the reasons why I would beg to differ, simply because, yes, we are the council and we give direction and policy. Since I've been sitting on this council, I haven't always seen that met out in a formidable fashion. So part of that meeting when we had precision inspection here, our past meeting, was some of the oversight and the communication gaps that were there, I don't think should have been there. I think part of the direction that came out of that meeting, though, is for there to be better communication, and I think that staff will bring that up to par. I don't see that that should be designated out of lower staff. I think that's a direct responsibility of the city manager. But to have oversight on this council, one of the things that I did in research, because of all of the information coming out of Precision, I have documented here since May of 1998 a transaction of monetary value of almost $1 million with Precision Inspection. Almost $500,000, a little over 400,000 of that actually accounts for contracting paid out by the city. That's a significant amount, and with that type of an amount and the questions that have been raised previously, I think it's formidable for it to be brought to the council, and that is my opinion. So I like the wording as it is.
John?
I must agree with Tim. I think all contracts should be reviewed, before they come up. I mean, maybe some fine print needs to be changed, no matter if it's a building department or who it is. Annual contracts should be reviewed by the council.
I also feel that way. I think there should be some oversight, and I think the council is the the body to do this. And maybe if we can change a few things and things improve, then maybe we can look at it again. But I think that we should leave that in. So with that, if there's no more discussion, I'll ask for some direction.
I move that we adopt resolution number 02 next to number, approving the agreement between the City of Newman and Precision Inspection Company for building inspection and plan checking services.
Second.
I request a roll call vote.
Okay. Judy?
Councilmember Parker?
Yes.
Applegate?
No.
Martinez?
No.
Anazia?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes. Passes 3-2. Item number 9B, award memorial building roof bid to True Tech for $24,439. Ernie?
Mr. Mayor, council members, included with the city manager's report is a bid summary sheet of the contractors that bid on the new roof for the Louis J. Newman Memorial Building. True Tech of Modesto bid $24,439. King's Roofing of Patterson bid $32,714. Westall Roofing from Visalia, $34,800. And Friar Roofing of Fresno bid $29,100. The low bid was True Tech of Modesto for $24,439. However, this is not a Duralast submittal as specified in the bid documents, but is considered an equal if it meets the bid warranty specification. The manufacturer, supplier, roofing contractor have been requested to provide an endorsement signed by their insurance company that would cover consequential or incidental damages resulting from the failure of the factory roofing material, roofing components, installation workmanship, or ponding of water within a 15-year warranty period. The first sentence of the second paragraph should read in the city manager's report, if a satisfactory warranty endorsement is received within a 10-day period after bid award instead of by Tuesday, July 23rd, recommendation is to award the memorial building roof bid to TruTech. Failure to comply with the endorsement request will disqualify TruTech based on the bid warranty specifications. Recommendation would then be to award the bid to the next lowest bidder, which would be Friar Roofing from Fresno for $29,100. And Friar Roofing is a certified Duralast roofing contractor. This time I would like to defer to the city manager to elaborate on this warranty endorsement since he's been in contact with the supplier.
Basically, we've been going back and forth. The issue involved is on the system from TruTech, the bidder that is the low bidder. Their warranty excludes consequential damages, which is basically if the roof system fails and there is damage to our building underneath, they will repair the roof system, but are not liable for the damages to the building that resulted from, or the consequential damages from the failure of the roof. The Duratec system does not have that exclusion in their warranty. Therefore, what we did is we put 3 provisions in there to allow other bidders to meet that requirement if they had that exclusion. Number one, the first requirement was that they not have that exclusion in their warranty. The Carlisle system or the other system from TruTech does not meet that. The second provision is that they provide a rider to their insurance, specifically naming that it does cover the consequential damages and that they will include the liability or the product liability insurance for that for the period of 15 years, the same period as the warranty that is required. Or the third requirement is that they have a representative of the company that represents the product that is being used signed and notarized a waiver for the consequential damages exclusion, which is in their warranty. They have chosen to meet item number 2. They've given us a letter stating that. I spoke with the representative of the company today. He stated that he will begin immediately to have his insurance company provide the insurance with that rider as we have specified, and we will have it within the 10 days, which is required for them to sign the contract. With that, it sounds like in talking to him that he is comfortable he'll be able to provide that from his insurance company, and we'll have what we need with the TruTech company providing the roofing system.
Why would we extend that exception when we're looking for this specified Duralast type of roof? And Ernie, that's not my expertise, so give me some feedback on Duralast versus any other type of roofing system.
The key really is, Tim, we specified Duralast or equal. You cannot specify by law. We cannot say you can only use Duralast. And our investigation into the type of roofing system is that they are equal. The 2 roofing systems are equally good as far as the product.
Okay.
The only difference is in that warranty exclusion that the other system has in it, excluding the consequential damages. So legally, we have to require the equals to come in. And that's why we put the provision in there that will allow them to use another product, but they have to provide coverage for those consequential damages in their warranty.
Understood. So in other words, the consequences are if the roof leaks bad enough to damage the city hall chambers here and all the chairs are messed up and all our lighting system and electrical, they currently would not cover the cost to replace these things, but this other contractor under this Duralast would.
There's some argument between the 2
Yes.
companies on that, but basically that's it. One says that our warranty would cover it. The other one says our product liability insurance would cover it. The difference is under a warranty, you simply go back to the government company and said this is a covered warranty item, you cover it. Under the product liability, you probably end up going to a lawsuit to get them to pay for
Okay,
it.
so the only thing that I'm understanding from you, from your staff report, in terms of their letter of assurances, is that we don't have that in hand? Is that correct? Or
They're not required to. They're required to provide the insurance within 10 days of award of bid, and they have said they can do that. And therefore, to date, they've met the requirements that are required within the specifications.
But if for some reason they're not able to do that, you're gonna have to bring this back to us?
No, we will simply award to the
Second
second.
one.
That's what we're asking permission to do tonight, is if they don't meet that requirement within the 10 days,
We'll
we
go
can
with the
simply
second
go
lower
to the
bid.
second bid, which meets all the specifications.
Yeah, they're both good roofing materials. You know, there's a lot of Carlisle roofings around here in this city.
The one on the theater is Duralast, right?
Yes, it is, and that's the reason why, because we already had those specifications in hand,
Right.
it made it a lot simpler for me to prepare those specs. But I also had to provide to accept an equal for everybody to be able to bid fairly on it.
Okay.
Is it reasonable for us to go with the low bidder, given your estimations?
Yes, it is, but again, the stipulation that was in the bid spec was the warranty specification, and they have to meet that, otherwise they would be disqualified. And they're saying that they can,
Okay.
and they will.
In writing?
Yes,
And even if we go to the next lowest bidder, it's still under our $30,000 estimate then by a little bit.
yes, it is,
Okay.
and that one is a Duralast, so there isn't any problem with the warranty.
Okay. Any other questions for Ernie? Any other discussion? Can we have some direction?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we award Memorial Building roof bid to True Tech for the said amount, with also the said exception, that if they don't comply, it goes to Fryer Roofing for the higher bid amount, $29,100.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Adopt resolution number 2002, next number, adopting the final map for Phase 1 of Hearthstone Ranch subdivision. Curtis, Dave, either one of you want to make a comment on this before we?
Again, Dave Tatro, Hearthstone Builders. Mr. Mayor, council members, as most of you are aware, this will be the conclusion of approximately 3 years of our work on Hearthstone Ranch with just Unit 1. Unit 2, 3, and 4 are, as we speak, in various positions with the city engineer he's reviewing improvement plans on 3 and 4. Those were submitted on the 17th of July. The final maps on 3 and 4 are going to be submitted Friday. Unit 2 should be coming back reasonably soon, I would expect. Cleve might have a better idea on that.
I'm trying,
That's been
Ernie, I
submitted.
don't remember. I think Unit 2 may have been sent back to Thompson Heinzel already. I forget.
Yeah, right.
It's been going back and forth, but it's been being reviewed, so
So
it's
it's
farther
fairly
along the
close.
process.
We have worked very closely with staff on particularly one of the conditions that we were faced with on our tentative map, which had to do with Swamp Rats Road and trying to acquire some easements, et cetera, which we used our best efforts, couldn't get it done, and we since have come back with a interim storm drain basin, which the school district is aware of. Matter of fact, you should have a letter from the school district.
That was just delivered to me today. I
Yeah,
did
that
get
was
that
just
today.
delivered. Roberto's been out of town, and he called in and had Susan produce it. I got it at noon today, and we took it to the city this afternoon.
So they accept that
Yes, they
using
have.
their
They know
school
that.
site for a,
They're aware of it, and have no objections to that. So other than that, I mean, if you have any other questions, I'll be willing to answer them. On the, I noticed on staff's report, the required fees must be submitted, the bonds, that's coming, the subdivision improvement agreement, hopefully tomorrow we'll have that done. We're waiting for some final numbers to plug in on reimbursements, only on one. I think it has to do with the Parkway and what our fair share will be and what the reimbursements are. And the improvement plans on Unit 1 have been approved. I think they've been approved since staff produced this report.
Do you know when that, or how long this temporary fix would be?
All I can do is give you an estimated guess. The condition covered roughly 900 acres. We have roughly 100 acres. That, looking at, depending on what the city has done with its CEQA Act, et cetera, the best guess that's been floating around amongst staff, I believe, and ourselves in the school district is approximately 10 years. Now, that depends on.
But
how
the main problem right now is getting the easement down Swamp Rats Road to.
Yes, to
to do
acquire
this.
that, and the CEQA environmental
Yeah.
requirements that are going to be needed, and where this goes. Is it going to go into the wasteway? And there's been some standards changed by the federal government on water discharge. So staff has been working, just as hard as we have on this, and most cities in the area are doing this on an interim basis. I mean, interim detention basins for storm drain water is not an unusual circumstance. They're usually utilized with parks. This case, it'll be, it's very shallow. We're not improving it. The school district will probably hydroseed it because they could use it as a play field. It's very shallow. It's not a deep pond as you would, describe a basin. And we were very concerned about that because this is going on an elementary school site. And so the school district, we worked very closely with the district and their board, et cetera, and everybody's aware of.
And they don't
Yeah.
feel that they'll need that site within that period
Well,
of time?
No, they don't. It's, number one, it's an elementary school site.
Right.
And under the state rules and regulations, they can only have so big a site for an elementary school before they have to move to like a junior high and then up to high school sites. The numbers start moving quite largely. They don't feel they're going to need that detention facility for any buildings. They may, if anything.
There will still be
utilize-
room within their site to build their
That's
actual
correct.
school then.
And they, to the best of my knowledge, they had their architect looking at it, and because we've made some concessions to them that if they can produce where they're going to set their buildings, then when we start doing the improvements out there, we'll place electric, water, et cetera, so they don't have to move it again. And they've been working on that, I believe.
And would this be a fenced site, or would the water be that deep?
No, we'll be initially, until the school utilizes the site.
Yeah.
What'll happen is we're gonna be rough grading, and we'll
Okay.
finish grade the detention basin, and then we will put a fence around it.
Okay, that was my,
At that point in time, once the school district, as a matter of fact, we'll be fencing the whole school site, not just the detention basin. So nobody can, trash doesn't be dumped, et cetera, until the school district's ready to utilize that for their elementary school construction. And then once they start the elementary school construction, that fence, I think, will come down, and it's an open, depressed area that will probably be grassed or hydroseeded.
similar to a park retention basin.
Right, exactly.
But I just was
And what
wondering
we're-
what type of fence, it's going to be within a new subdivision, and is it going to be a chain link fence or?
What we're trying to work out, and we have asked to stay out of it, that the city and the school district be negotiating over who's going to maintain it, et cetera, and what happens when it's no longer needed. It's the school district's land, obviously. But so somebody's got to have some agreements on maintaining that detention basin, and it's the city that's using it. So there's got to be some agreements between the school board and the city, and I don't know where those negotiations are.
It sounds like a quagmire to me, and I'm going to be frank with you because I'm aware of the project since I was on the planning commission. The memo that I passed out to you is in reference to, at one time, Hearthstone Development was asking for us to pay for all of those fees ourselves. They wanted to take it off the table of the conditions. Now it's come back to us in lieu, and I understand your problem trying to get that easement. If you could get the easement, it wouldn't be a problem. You would go ahead and go forward with the infrastructure as said. But that's the heart of the matter, is the infrastructure. This town has flooded twice since I've lived here. we're talking about a detention basin. I'm not comfortable with those. If you go behind the Kaufman and Broad homes that are out there on the other side of Hartstone, there's a ditch there. I mean, a literal dirt ditch. There's no underground piping. You have water that runs off from all of the farmland, off of Stir Road, all the way there behind that ditch, and it's metered. The only reason it doesn't flood over there is because you have some diligent people out there that work the farms, and it's being metered so that it doesn't flood the back of those homes. And then it comes into the pump down there at the end of Barrington. Now, in this report,
That's not true.
okay, well, you can correct me where you feel I'm wrong, because I'm not speaking from my expertise.
No, go ahead.
This is a
finish.
field
I don't want
trip.
to interrupt you. I'll come back. And
But that's the runoff from the farmland. I do understand that part of it is.
That's
So-
a ditch, yeah.
Yeah, the
irrigation
ditch
channel,
there.
owned by CCID.
Right, owned by CCID, and it's
Okay.
runoff water.
No, it's irrigation water.
Irrigation, but it runs off through the ditch. Is that a fair
Well, that's
assessment?
how they, no, what they do is they use that ditch for delivery. The end user of that ditch
Mhm.
is Lucas Ranch.
Okay,
Doug Lucas's project on the other side of, which is Stanford
Canals.
Rose piece.
okay,
Stanford University and Rose piece, which
Yes.
now is owned by Doug. That's how he gets delivery
of water.
of water to irrigate. The only time there's water in that ditch is when Doug is irrigating, or the farmers along, which now we own that piece, so we're not farming it. Anyway, that ditch is going to be covered. In our improvement plans, that ditch disappears.
So when it's covered, it's gonna have a
It's
pipe underneath.
concrete pipe
Right,
covered up.
that's what I understood. So the part of the condition is for that to continue, even for the drainage, runoff, and sewers, for it to tap in to current infrastructure
Well, the
at
answer,
Barrington.
if your concern is, it has been, and, I'm aware of the flooding that has taken place in that area.
Mhm.
What the city has done to correct that, plus what we're doing with new construction coming in, along with what Lucas has done with the Woodside
Right, yeah,
deal,
I've seen that.
is going
That's
to
a form.
solve your flooding problems
Okay,
for a long, long time. The detention basin is only designed to hold water for a 12-hour period, and it's metered into the storm drain system that's already existing.
well, just call me paranoid. I know I can't control Mother Nature, but it's been 2 times, and a lot of times things come in 3s, and I have a very long vested interest here, living here till I retire, so
We have dealt,
that's what I'm looking at.
we have spent a lot of money and spent a lot of time with your city engineer
Yes.
dealing, and with staff dealing with that condition as well as a number of others, and they've been solved. Go ahead, Tim, I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay. I just haven't been convinced of that. I mean, call it a brain block, if you will, but just from and I'm out of my realm, but I would I'll defer maybe some of it to John, because you're in farming. I mean, a detention basin, water runoff, 48 hours, does that sound reasonable to you? If we have a hard mesh rain?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it. I mean, I'm a farmer, so I understand exactly what Dave's talking about. And
Okay.
he's right about the only time that ditch is going to have water is for 1 or 2 customers of CCID. Otherwise, nobody drains in that ditch, or it goes a different direction. And when it's all done, it'll be all pipelined, and there's a lot of other places in town that CCID water runs through, and it's pipelined, and there's no problem.
Okay.
Especially in the winter when there's no irrigation being done at all.
Now, as far as the other infrastructure along Sherman Parkway, that is going to stop. It's not going to go all the way out for sewer, or they'll eventually be tapped in.
No, what we're doing is we're putting in the sewer line in the Sherman Parkway for what we need for Hearthstone Ranch. In addition to that, we are oversizing and putting in lines that go all the way to Highway 33 that will handle future development, so they don't have to tear that parkway up,
Okay.
which is some of the reimbursements we're getting back.
Is it tapping into
No, this
pre-existing,
is
or it's
all-
going to be all new
this
all
is
the way
all
out
new.
towards the-
We'll be
that's what I
tapping
thought.
into, Hearthstone Ranch is serviced by the existing sewer and storm drain that exist in Barrington
On
Avenue.
Barrington. Okay.
When that was developed by Renown, that was oversized to handle this development. The city required that, and there were some major reimbursements between ultimately K&B and the city and Renown. It took 10+ years to get that done. So what we're doing is we're sizing new sewer, water, and storm from Highway 33 at a railroad crossing that we're going to be putting in,
Right,
all the way down to Barrington Avenue.
okay.
Now, at Barrington Avenue, we have some lift stations, which are on the improvement plans, which will handle our Hearthstone Ranch sewer and water in the current lines that are in Barrington Avenue. Part of the storm drain water will be held on this detention basin and metered into the existing storm drain, so you don't have the problems that you had where you lived 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah, Driscoll,
where the water
Driscoll would
picked
flood
up.
every time you just get
Right.
a little rainfall. That's why I bring out this as a concern, because if you don't have that metering system, if you don't have the basin, then you need bigger lines to
Believe me, the
to
city
get the water out.
staff, because of the complaints they received, that's an area that they looked at very, very closely. Believe me, Ernie doesn't want to deal with homeowners complaining about water backing up because some detention basin didn't work.
I'm just trying to make a prudent decision.
Understand. We're just trying to answer your questions to tell you that the concerns you had were warranted 6 years ago or whenever you moved here. Since that time, the world didn't stand still. We're correcting problems. The city has made an attempt to correct them already. The new subdivisions that are coming in that affect that end of town are taking it even farther. So you're not going to have any flooding problems. If you have a flooding problem,
You'll buy all our homes?
no, if you have a flooding problem, Newman will be underwater before you have. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Mr. Tatro?
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cleve, everything you want to add to this?
I think it's pretty well, just hopefully the council understands my staff report and how those swamp rat road improvements will be paid and put in the future. This development has agreed, and it'll be a requirement of future developments that since that condition, we are not requiring them to put those improvements in at this time, that they are paying a fee in lieu of that condition. And the city engineer has stated that that is in substantial compliance of the conditions of the tentative map, and therefore that this meets those requirements.
And I understood that completely, and I saw the per unit cost and the almost $1 million by the time you finish your development, how much you're going to actually pay. The problem, or I guess the question still remains, we would still have to negotiate an easement and somehow mesh out that we'll be able to tap in there. Maybe we might have a little bit more bargaining, more negotiating power at that time, so I do understand that. So.
Yeah, and technically, we also have, if it came down to it in the end, we have the power of eminent domain that we could use. We hope to be able to resolve that without that, and we think we can. But this is the type of facility that I think that power is designed for if necessary.
I see our city attorney grinning when you use that term. It's an easy term said, but sometimes it's not that easily done.
Well put.
But yeah.
I could answer. You may or may not be aware of this, but that solution is coming before you because of people south of there that will have to deal with that particular pipeline on Swamp Rats Road are currently looking at a development proposal that, as far as I know, they're headed for a workshop with the city. And I'm sure that's going to be a condition of any approval. Over and above the fees that I have to pay, that get put in. Am I correct? Thank you.
Any other comments, discussion?
The only comment I had is I can't read the fine print on this map. I don't know if that, everybody else having the same problem?
Yeah, I can't read it up there either, so.
Okay. I'll go in and read the big one.
It is a little small. You have to pretty well know where everything is there. Okay, can we have some direction on?
Well, with that discussion, Mr. Mayor, I will move that we adopt the resolution next to number adopting the final map for Phase 1 of Hearthstone Ranch subdivision.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Thank
This
you.
is an unusual request, and I want to thank you for your consideration.
Okay. Thank you very much. Item number 9D. Adopt resolution number 2002, next number, adopting job description for the position of Community Development Director and authorize staff to begin recruitment. Steve, you want to comment on that?
Just quickly, as I've stated in my report, the preliminary budget included this position, the preliminary budget which was approved by council, and we recognize and agree that we want to hold off on actually appointing this position, hiring this position until such time as the final budget is approved. However, in order to expedite the process, what we're asking for is adoption of the job description, which hopefully is not an issue. Whether or not we hire the position, the job description can be there. But the second part is to allow us to move forward with the recruitment with the understanding that no job offer would be made until such time as the final budget is adopted.
Now, what we have here is, we had talked about this, the planning part of it, or community development, would be basically 60%, or is that right, of the time, of the person's time?
That's a 60 to 70%, yeah.
Okay.
It would also include work in redevelopment, code enforcement, and the building department, building inspections, coordination.
Yeah, this is where you speak of the physical requirements and working condition.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these things I think are probably, you would probably need a little more if you're going out in the field, particularly for code enforcement or something like that.
There's a lot of job responsibilities listed here.
Well, he has to go
Yeah.
to school to learn all
And
of his
so-
jobs.
Yeah, no, I was, they're here, but the physical requirements and working conditions says it's primarily sedentary, which if the code enforcement or whatever was part of it, there would be some field work involved in that.
I do have a question of staff, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
You've named this position Community Development Director.
Correct.
It's encompassing a planning director, so we'll no longer have planning director title. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then it seems like you've compartmentalized this as a department as well. Are you looking to see this as an actual department? I guess you're doing this is going to supersede our planning department and
Yeah.
become this community development.
That's correct. It would still be what is currently our planning department,
Yes.
but it would include since we have the full-time position, it would add other responsibilities on top of that, and why that's the reason it is expanded as community development rather than just planning.
And as we grow, it will get larger and take on more responsibilities as a department.
What I tried to do in this, I agree there are some things in here that talks about supervision of technical staff and things like that. We will not have that in the beginning because this is going to be the only technical position in that department. But what I tried to do was write the job description in a way that allows for that expansion and growth as is needed.
Well, I think this is comprehensive, and I think it's something that shows foresight because as our city does grow and we manage this growth, it will necessitate us having a full-time position. I'm not opposed to that. I will say that under the training and experience, and particularly with the budget that you set with the salary range, that I would suggest that it actually be a requirement to have an undergraduate degree. I know that some of these experiences can be gained by people on the job, certainly, but with all that you've entailed here, some formal education along these lines, I think would be advantageous. So my only addendum would be, under training and experience, making an undergraduate degree a requirement for the position. And coming out of college and maybe having some experience to make what's detailed here, $53,000 upwards to $71,000, I think is reasonable for it to be.
And that is the intention. This is the normal way that this would be written. All of our job descriptions are written in a similar way to say that a typical way to obtain this knowledge and experience would be a bachelor's degree, which this says a bachelor's degree, plus this many years of experience with major coursework in this area. So, yeah, we will definitely look for someone with a bachelor's degree, but the legal requirements would show that for this type of position, that, yeah, this is the typical way to get it, would be a bachelor's degree, but you may have somebody who has been training in this area for 20 years, who has a considerable amount of experience, but has never actually gone through that process and got their bachelor's degree, that could fulfill the job and do the job. And that's why it says the typical way to fulfill it would be a bachelor's degree and the years of experience. But by the way this type of position is, it doesn't technically require that in other words, it doesn't say that if you don't have a bachelor's degree, there's no law or legal requirement that you have to have that bachelor's degree in order to fulfill the requirements of this position.
And you're saying that we can't stipulate that as a requirement? Because if you're saying that we can't, then I would ask our city attorney, is that something that,
No, you can.
I
but
thought that we could.
I think
I
we
understand what
just
he's got a
saying
butt
for
here.
practical purposes.
You don't
that's
know
just not been
what's
the
gonna pop up
practice.
out there either.
Wait a minute,
There's
I want to hear what he said.
It's not legally required not to have it, if that's
Right.
your question. But I think what Cleve is saying is that practically speaking, you word it this way, but what, 90+% of the applicants will have it.
Because it's such a specifically targeted field.
Well, it's just the main way to get the experience. It's just the way it works out, but it's for that, it's to cover that exceptional circumstance, but there's not a requirement that we not have it.
I didn't think that there was. And the only reason I bring it up is I would really, really have some question if you brought someone in that's had 3 to 5 years experience in some planning department to come in and run our planning. I mean, I don't know, you know.
Without
part-
the
part-
bachelor's degree.
Yeah,
you mean.
without
Yeah,
the undergraduate degree.
Yeah,
If you're
sure.
saying that somebody had, 5 years of experience working in this capacity to take on such a tremendous amount of responsibility, I don't know if 5 years of experience would give you that to this kind of underwork. So that's
So all I'm saying, Tim, is the professionals that write these job descriptions, what I did is I gathered several from different agencies, and they all use this type of language. They don't say the requirement, you have to have a bachelor's degree. They say a typical way to get the knowledge and experience is a bachelor's degree with this many years of
I guess I could say
experience.
that
So-
my input is I'm skewing it that way.
Sure.
I think that is, even though you may say 90% of the applicants will already do that, it just kind of refines it. So that's my opinion.
Sure.
Well, just let me say one thing here on that. Just because you have a bachelor's degree doesn't mean you know anything. Let's face it, I went to work with Bank of America. And if they said that to become a bank manager, you had to have a bachelor's degree, I would have never made it. But I did make it because I knew more than most of the people. So you got to look at it that way. You can't.
What
There
era?
are people out there
what
that are
era
very
are you
intelligent.
from?
There are people that come
I
out
do
of
agree.
college that I wouldn't let cut my grass.
That's right.
So
Just because you have a degree doesn't mean you're
it
very
just
smart.
depends.
Quite a few.
And that I'm certainly not implying that whatsoever. I'm just I'm making
That's
it,
what
I'm,
it came
make,
across.
I'm making it a point based with the experience of the job knowledge. That's all. Sure. So
With that being said, is there any other discussion on this? Can we go ahead and have some direction?
go ahead and make it a roll call vote.
Have a roll call
Well, you
vote,
voted
okay?
no.
Have we
Judy?
made a motion yet?
Yeah, let's get a motion.
Yeah.
Just put that out there so that we know.
Have we made a motion?
No.
Would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I
Second.
so move that we adopt resolution number 2002, next number, adopting job description for the position of Community Development Director and authorize staff to begin recruitment.
Second.
Okay, Judy, would you give a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Parker?
No.
Yes.
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 Man, you're tough.
Passes 4-1. And
Well, I'm not a college graduate. I know that.
item number 9E, discussion regarding town hall meeting on volunteerism and selection of a potential date for the meeting. Tim, since you brought that up in the first place, would you like to make a short comment on that?
Yeah, short comment, I think is what it said.
I think the staff report says it all. It's just that we're going to try to gather momentum. The suggested date here, August 6th, just looking for some concurrence from my colleagues.
I'd like to see this broadened out a bit to make it not just for the, let me find this again, for the recreation programs. I'd like to see it brought out for, as a regular town meeting for people that have questions or problems or want to commend the council for the fine job they've done and things like that, rather than just the youth and adult recreation programs. I think that should be part of it, but I think we should.
I don't know, that's what came out in Visionary. I mean,
You're saying beyond volunteerism, right, Mayor? Because
Well, yeah,
we were going to include
I think
police
volunteerism
services.
is, maybe we'll just stick with volunteerism, but other than the recreation and.
And
for
we
instance-
talked about that, Tim and I, in our meeting, that we would also include police because they need volunteers for their VIN program and things like that. So,
And,
yeah, we discussed that fact.
The
that it
items
wasn't
like
just for
the adopt a
recreation.
pot thing
Right.
downtown and things like this, that we
Sure.
could, other things around the
I
town.
think part of what you're saying is an open dialogue, which
More or
we-
less,
we-
yeah,
I
then.
mean, you could direct that. It'll be
Yeah,
an
I mean,
actual
but here it's
subcommittee.
specified, the youth and adult recreation programs is all it's
That was our-
specified
That was
here.
our
on the-
momentum builder.
that was the
Yeah.
Visionary thing that we all
Okay.
approved in the first
Right.
place.
Right.
So
So
you want to change it?
I just would like to see it expanded a bit, that's all. And I think we could do that within the scope of the whole program.
I'm open to that.
In other words, if somebody has a question on anything pertaining to something in the city, they won't be
Yeah,
turned away,
you know,
they can
it-
participate.
An open,
Is that what
have
you're
a, maybe just a short period of time, say 15 or 20-minute period there, where we would take things like that to.
We'll have that
Maybe
part
it-
at the end so we can all run
That's
real
fine.
quick.
Before you adjourn. So anyway, it's August 6th, that's on a,
Tuesday.
Tuesday. That's the first Tuesday in August.
yeah.
Good date.
There was one
That's fine.
aspect that we discussed that wasn't contained in your staff report. Are you going to bring that back when we discussed
Regarding-
about the awards, possible award ceremony?
Right, I didn't include that in there. One of the things that Councilmember Parker suggested is that we have a couple of possible applicants that we're taking to the Architectural Review Committee to approve for our beautification awards, the council, the program the council recently adopted. Councilmember Parker suggested that we make those awards at that meeting to recognize people who are
Right.
doing things in the community also, and then continue with the volunteer presentation following that. So I apologize for leaving that out, Tim, but yeah, that was another aspect of it that we thought would help get people out and show that we do recognize those people who put things back into the community.
Okay, any other comments?
That's
Okay.
fine.
Move on to item number 10, items from city manager.
I don't have anything major. I know that, let's see, Ernie's still here. We do feel that we have a solution for the lettering in the intersections. I don't know if, it looks like Ernie's got it, oh, he's leaving, no.
No,
He's-
back there.
He's got it with him. Some of you may have already seen it, but this is a product.
That looked funny.
This is a product that we really believe will solve what we need. As you see it here is in white, but it does come in a black, or we can get it in a black color instead, and it
Can I
seems
see
to
it?
work really well.
Oh, it's foam. Some kind of
No,
foam?
no, it's
See,
a tough, what do you call it,
Tough Flex.
tough flex.
Yeah, one of our roofing contractors that came over to bid on the roof happened to be a supplier in different products for different cities. And he mentioned that he had this tough flex solution that would work on repairing concrete. So I took him over to take a look at the lettering, and he said, oh yeah, I have the thing just right for it. So what he did is he left me a 5-gallon bucket, and he told me the mixing directions. Add water to it, add a vial of hardener, and then you just take that, and it's you pour it like pancake batter on the griddle, and then just let it sit. And that's what it hardens into. What I did is I took a small pan, a plastic pan, I threw a bunch of chunks of concrete in there. And then I just poured it in there, and it sat for, I guess about 5 hours. And then I went over and I dumped it out. And we cut away this morning into it so that you could see the concrete underneath there. And we had a tough time cutting this thing off of there. And as you can see how thin this is over the concrete.
You can't peel it off.
So you can't even peel it off. So we feel that this is going to be just the solution for the broken lettering and the intersections without having to jackhammer all that concrete out of there.
This would go right over top of the broken letters that are there now?
Right. What we would do is you would clean it out, blow out all the dust and dirt as best you can, and then just pour the solution right into it, to the bottom of it, and then have a thin layer going over each letter. And
did you get a cost on this per
no,
pipe?
I haven't. I haven't talked to the to Hank, but this morning Ray, the inspector, talked with Dave Williams, and Dave Williams is getting in touch with the gentleman and letting him know that making arrangements so that they can come over and get this thing fixed.
Yeah, what about, okay, so that will do the cracked letters and everything, but it still leaves us a big problem on one intersection and possibly two with the actual stamped concrete is cracked. And
And on Fresno Street, that is still a problem.
Yeah.
It's the main one.
And then also on Merced Street, where the letter is caved down, that bird bath.
Right, right.
So there are some other problems other than just
Yeah.
repairing the
Yeah, and
the
I.
letters. That does look like a good solution there. I mean, it looks like it's something it doesn't take a rocket scientist to do, so I'm saying one could.
But he should have a bachelor's degree, though.
Ooh, you're cruel, Tom.
Brutal.
So you're going to look into that, or Dave Williams is supposed to look into that this week, okay. Cleve, can we keep on Dave Williams to make sure that he,
We will, yeah, and I've
It's on
also
this.
directed Ernie to look into the question you brought up as far as the cracking in the actual stamped and how we're gonna resolve that. If it for sure has to be pulled out, which, it may, or what's gonna be the solution there. So he'll be looking at that with the inspector and with Dave Williams to figure out what's gonna be the best solution for it.
and while we're on the subject of the streetscape, how are we coming with the rest of the little problems? We're supposed to have another walkthrough, or?
I talked to Ray about that, and he was going to do the walkthrough first by himself, but he said there were a couple of things, one of them that he pointed out to me that by the landscaper that still had not been completed, so he was working on that and trying to get that completed.
There is some other concrete work that has been done, but still wasn't, for instance, the water standing in front of the theater and
Okay,
all of that, so something we ought to just follow up on.
okay.
Yes, Mr. Novoa.
Bob Novoa, 940 Fresno Street, Novoa Jewelers. Well, I have two addresses, Also, some of the patching that's been done for the tile work in front of our businesses on Fresno Street there in the 900 block on the south side certainly is not what we were led to believe would happen. And so disappointment is mild. And there's also a window that still needs to be replaced that we want to make sure nobody overlooks. The cement people ruined that glass, and it's certainly not up to the business owner to have to replace that glass. And just as an observation, we seem to be, just within the last week, getting a lot more debris around the bench there on our side of the street, and it's the youth, and even today I asked if they would not pick up after themselves, and they didn't. So it's something that I know it's a concern and something we've addressed, but since we're talking about the streetscape. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. I think that's one of the things, if we do this next walkthrough, I think that we'll hopefully catch all these little items that have been missed. Cleve, anything else?
I think that's all I have.
Okay. Tim, we'll start with you.
Just on the graduation recently from high school and the work that Tosca's done and sending kids out to college and scholarship funds, I noticed, and where I got some of my ideas, a recent graduate from Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, in the newspaper. And we often talk about our resources going out and they go elsewhere for employment. I'm just looking and thinking ahead of bringing some of those resources back here in town when kids go out to school, go off to college elsewhere. Maybe that comes back here to Newman, so that's part of my comment earlier. Since Bob brought up benches, you know, I've noticed the bench on the side of Mel's liquor store congregates a lot of youth. I just think that that's an inappropriate place for that particular bench, only because it's right on the corner of a liquor store. It's not somewhere where you want to harbor loitering unnecessarily. We're inviting it by having that particular bench there. Just something I'd like my colleagues to consider. I haven't heard of any necessary problems there other than the debris like what Bob brought up, but just my experience, which is predominantly in law enforcement, that's not a good area for people to always just congregate right out in front of the liquor store. So that's just the observation I made. I have nothing further.
You suggesting taking the bench out?
I think it should be moved from that particular location
Where,
it may go.
But
If
they're
we
already
took that
inside.
bench out, where would the people that sit on that bench, where would they go? Do you figure?
Across the street.
That's right. See, that's it. So all we're doing is
Bob's corner?
we're not eliminating the problem, we're moving the problem. And that's what I don't want to do.
We're gonna take the debris across the street.
But the kids are already inside the liquor store playing all those machines.
Yeah.
So,
And
Well,
where
it
do
looks
they
a lot
buy
better
the
when-
stuff
it
they
looks
make
a
a
lot better
mess
when
with?
they're inside and hanging on the corner, but
But I think that we ought to look at solving the problem rather than just moving the problem someplace else. And I don't think taking the bench out is going to solve the problem.
No.
So, okay,
well,
Tom?
you invited.
yeah, number one, I'd like to congratulate Kern Honeywell from Yancey Lumber. He got the James T. Severa Award for Citizen of the Year here in Newman.
Here, here.
And he's done a lot for this community. Number two, Canal School Road. Okay, I've been coming by from Gustine several times now, and I would be coming up Canal School Road from Gustine into Newman. And there's a police car there at Inyo and Canal School Road with his radar. And so I was trying to figure out what this was all about. Today I came up Canal School Road. There's a sign, our little sign up there that says speed limit 35. And then you're doing whatever.
There's our little trailer.
Okay, so I went to the police department to find out, you know, are they ticketing people for going over 35? And he says, no, well, not. First of all, the police chief and the assistant weren't there, so I talked to one of the officers and to Kathy and Jim. And they said that at this point in time, just so the people out there will know, that they're only ticketing those who are going over 55. It is a 35 mile, I guess it's in the city now, so it's 35. However, there's no sign that says, City of Newman, you're in the City of Newman, no 35 mile per hour signs. And he says the reason that the signs aren't being put up yet is because they're doing a test at this point in time to verify that it is a 35 mile per hour zone. So is that what that, okay. But I just want to let the people out there to know, you're not going to get ticketed for going over 35, but you will be for going over 55 because yesterday they got one going 80. And so I guess we'll just have to follow it and see what happens. I guess once it becomes certified, then we can put the signs up. Okay.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay. Bob?
No, other than I'd just like to say the same thing that Tom said, that congratulations on his board, Kern, because I think Kern is very deserving, and it was an excellent choice. That's all I have.
John?
Got a couple of things. Start out with congratulating Kern also and commend the chamber. The food was great from the grill. Very good selections. And a couple of questions and comments on the industrial area. I guess we're having a problem with the water table, Ernie. Cleve told me that we dug a hole over there where the detention dam's going to go, and I did some investigation. There's that drainage district well, and that well has not been on all year. So we're going to try to get that well on the next couple of days, and hopefully that's going to draw the water table down over there. It's supposed to be on. I don't know why it's off. It's supposed to be timed where it runs in the middle of the night, where the electric is cheaper, and off during the peak hours, and hasn't been on at all. So
Whose well is that, John?
it's a GDD, Gustine Drainage District well.
Okay.
That when the water table's a certain level, they're supposed to run it, and they're not running it. They haven't been, so it's supposed to be on the next couple of days.
Good.
And also, when are the bids coming back for the industrial area, Cleve?
Because of that problem, we haven't put that out to bid yet. You
Oh, okay.
authorize us to, but we've got to get those improvement plans haven't been approved yet because of that,
Okay.
that concern. So
We're
once we
waiting
get
for
that,
those to-
once we get that issue resolved, and I think Ernie and Gary, you were setting up a meeting to meet with Merced County. I don't know if that's happened yet, to discuss various issues, but if we can resolve it this other way, that may be very helpful for us, so that we don't have to look at other options down there.
Yeah, when we dug that hole, the water table was down about 12 feet. And then we went to see it within the next day or two, and it had come up to 5 feet. I went and took a look at it today, and it was at 3.5. So it's a real problem. I called the city engineer this afternoon and advised him of what was happening, and so he's just pulling his hair out and saying, well, gee, he's supposed to come tomorrow for a meeting, 10 o'clock. At that time, we're going to go over and we're going to see how we can resolve that problem, because Merced County is saying, in order for us to approve your plans in a detention basin, we need to have at least a 2-foot separation from the water table to the bottom of the basin. And you just simply can't do it if the water table's at 3.5 feet. So I'm kind of anxious to see just how much that pump is going to drop that water
So am I.
table down.
Hopefully it's going to drop it, but
We were looking for a spot for a new swimming pool anyway, weren't we? John, anything else?
that's all I had.
Okay.
I just, one more thing, I forgot.
Okay,
I
sure.
forgot, I'm on the Solid Waste Local Task Force Commission. And we had a meeting last week, and it looks like there's going to be a new round of negotiations. There will be a public hearing on July the 30th of lowering the rates again for disposal fee and refuse rates. What's happened is that we're only paying 1% on the bond payments now. So we're saving a lot of money, and then PG&E is also giving us a lot of money back. So it looks like it might go down in most areas $2 to $4 a ton. And then in a couple areas, it will actually go up about $1 a ton. So that's all I have.
Thank you. I want to comment on the chamber dinner the other night. Besides, Kern was the well-deserved person getting the John Silvera Award. I'd like to congratulate Sheila Borelli for doing all of the decorating, and she practically did all that single-handed over there the one day. And it turned out very nice. Not too many people, unfortunately, but it gets everyone together. The Fall Festival, we have a information booth, and last year the council and the chamber combined to man that booth. Is the council agreeable to doing the same thing this year? An hour or two a day, Saturday and Sunday?
Sure. Sounds good.
Okay. John, I know you won't
Naturally,
have-
I'm
I know
gonna say
you
yes.
won't have anything to do, John.
Otherwise, I'll be there the whole time myself. I'll be there anyway, but
Aren't you going to have your own booth?
no, I'll be there with you.
And another question, did everyone get email of all the sheriff's contracts of the other cities around here? Did you get a copy?
I didn't get them.
No.
Okay.
I had asked them to send them to me, but for some reason they sent them to, I guess, you. And
No,
Tom,
we
did you
haven't
get
sent
yours?
it to anybody.
Have you got
I
yours?
got
Oh,
it,
you got it.
yeah.
No, I didn't get
What
it.
I'll do is, I'll forward them on to you, and then you can have copies made then for everyone. Yeah, what it is the contracts to the other
Right,
four
four cities,
cities
right.
that already have the sheriffs. They're basically the same.
Well, we can get one of them for you.
I already made a copy of Waterford's, but then my printer ran out of ink, so. And August 2nd is Mayor's Night at the fair over there. Okay, we're not having a West Side night though, are we?
There's
Okay.
no, yeah.
There's no West Side
No
night this
cities
year.
or
Okay.
any sides. It's, that's almost the local government, recognition of local government night,
Okay.
sole night this year.
Can council people come over to that too? Okay, so that's.
People on my councils can.
That's August the 2nd at 6 or 6:30. Do you remember which it was? 6 o'clock at the fair.
That's Friday, right, isn't it?
August.
That's on a Friday? Yeah.
2nd, yeah, I think, yeah, it is. A week from next Friday, 2 weeks from next Friday.
I wouldn't-
Um,
I don't- never
The
been
other
to
thing
the
is the Adopt-A-Pot program for our planters downtown. Susan Mattos is working on that. She tells me she only has 8 pots left to be adopted out of, what is there,
24, I think.
24, something like that. And anybody that's interested in it, give Susan a call at the paper. That's 862-2222, I think.
That's it.
Is that right?
That's
Okay,
right.
good. And the last thing I have is, I have a request to the council. I was approached by the Marine Corps to attend a workshop in San Diego for 4 days, the last of August, the last 27th, 8th, 9th, 30th of August. And I'd like to either move, or maybe if we don't have anything important, cancel the August 27th meeting, or move it to the previous week, or even the Monday, the 26th. Anyone have any objections or comments or
We have a quorum.
whatever? The reason I ask this is because I'll be out of town for the following meeting, the first meeting in September. I'll be in Ohio. And I didn't really want to miss 2 meetings in a row. But if it's necessary to have it on the 27th, then I won't go to that workshop down there. So it's up to the rest of the council, whatever.
The one thing, Mayor, that I think is on that agenda, as I mentioned, is that presentation from the transit on the dollar ride, but I could probably get that moved if the council desires to.
Okay.
So it's up to the council.
Okay.
That's
So
the
what-
only thing you know of right now.
That's the only thing I know of right now, yeah.
I don't see where that's
I don't have.
we have a thin agenda. Why not just stack it on another council meeting? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, or we could move the meeting up to the 3rd Tuesday, or we could have it on that Monday, the 26th, whichever.
Well, could we just maybe direct staff that way, that particular meeting, that 27th of August, Tuesday, if it looks as if our agenda's going to be that thin, maybe move it to the following normally scheduled meeting?
This first meeting in September.
Yeah.
Transit.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And this, by the way, this workshop is at no cost to the city. The Marine Corps is picking it all up. So
What are they going to teach you?
Is it the Marine Corps?
I'm not sure, but I know that we
Marine Corps is pretty rough, you know.
touring their San Diego recruiting facilities, Camp Pendleton, and Miramar Naval Air Station.
You
So
won't learn anything from the Marines.
You're not going to come back drilling this, are you?
I thought we were going to be in deep trouble because Tom told him they looked like Air Force people. So anyway,
Wrong thing to tell a Marine.
That's good.
that's all I have. So if there's nothing
When you brought
else,
this up, I thought you were going to say you were being drafted or something.
I move we
I
adjourn.
think I'm past that.
Second.
On that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.
Do you say August 2nd is a...